Good afternoon, everybody. This is the dude from the Pacific Northwest, bringing you a part 2 of 2 for the LED installation. The lights for the outdoor boat deck build. Here's where we left off. We went ahead and we installed these and the mounts on the last video. And so in this video, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna focus on wiring. And I'm gonna walk you guys through how I go ahead and I do the installation for that, the crimping, the wiring, and hopefully make this as clear as I can. I'm not the best at wiring. This isn't my profession by any stretch, but hopefully the video is helpful enough to anybody who hasn't done this before, or a little beginner tutorial. So stay tuned, and I will also walk you through all the tools that I use in the process, and we'll have a finished result hopefully today. So stick on by. Thank you for watching, and let's get through it. All right, so right off the bat, we have obviously our harness. We have 2 harnesses, one for each set of 4. This is a yellow film. It's like a tint film that I bought from Amazon. It should be plenty, and it's just gonna go over the lights like this at the end of it all. So I'll buy some of that, some snips, some Klein tools, wire stripper. You can get cheaper ones, you don't have to get these ones, but I bought these ones when I was in school, and I love them. These are great. Some more snips if you don't like those, duckbill pliers, needle nose, and as always, I find myself needing a razor all the time. And if you really want, I use it sometimes, but you don't have to. I have my own set of crimpers. I bought these also when I was in school, and depending on the hardware, I forget if I can use it on this or not, but these come in really handy and gives you perfect crimp every time. So let's carry on. All right, so I went ahead and took apart the harness kit that the lights come with. So let's just walk through the wire diagram real quick. We got ourselves the relay. We got the rocker switch. This is the switch to turn it on and off. This is the fuse. This is the negative. This is the positive. These will be hooked up to the battery, and that is this right here. And you can tell the picture. So black is always going to be negative. That's just how it works in the electric world. So you see right here, and if you forget, and the picture shows that the red has like this bulky box. It comes with this sort of harness, or comes with some sort of I'm not quite sure what it is, but just so you don't confuse it, the positive comes with the box and the negative does not. So this will be hooked up to your battery. This is the relay. You can tell because that's the way it looks in the picture. And then if you look closely in the diagram, it shows that these wires right here are the connectors. Again, you got positive and negative. And then these right here, as displayed in the picture, these blue icons. So these right here is what we're going to be working on in terms of snipping of the wires. So what happens is these wires on all the lights, we're going to go ahead and cut some of this sleeving off, and we're going to crimp these onto them, and then these hook up to their color coding on the other lights. And you can see that it comes with 2 sets of lights. So we got 2 here, and a little bit further down is 2 here. And they're both exactly the same. Neither one is different than the rest. It's just a matter of length, whether you want it short or longer. Anything that's excessive, all the wiring that's excessive, we're gonna go ahead and zip tie it together and put it in a plastic bag, so that way it's not loose and wobbling underneath and stuff. So I'll show you guys that. But the most important thing we can do right now is strip these wires, strip them, make them give us a little bit more wire to play with if we want to. And then we're gonna go ahead and crimp these on to them and then hook it up. So one step at a time. So let's do it. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do right off the bat is splice, or not splice, but trim off some of the sleeving off of these wires. And what you do is you get your wire strippers, and your wire strippers are gonna have different size dimensions, different holes. And I don't know if you guys can see or not on mine, but the different holes are for different size wiring. I know we have 16 to 18 gauge wiring because when you put the wiring in the hole, the metal sleeving is supposed to be able to go in tightly, or not tightly but snug, but then the rubber is not. And so you go ahead and you take the rubber, you put it in the hole, and you take a little bit off. You peel a little bit off, and you don't want to peel a lot of it off, because then you're just exposing wiring that you shouldn't or don't need to be exposing. So I cut it to about that length. I don't know if, it's probably 1/2 inch or maybe 1/4 inch. And now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take these connectors, and we're gonna put this in, and we're going to crimp it. It just goes in this way, just on the metal, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna crimp it on. I'm gonna be using my tool, but you can easily use needle nose pliers and just make it as tight as you can. You don't want to do it super tight to the point where you're causing damage to it, because then it can pull off, because these don't come with any extra connectors. I mean, I wish they came up with at least one extra just in case, you know, for amateurs such as myself. But let's go ahead and let's do that. I'm gonna just go ahead and demonstrate doing that without a fancy tool. Again, you should get your duckbill pliers. I should really take all the rust off of this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and, again, you want to keep it at the length allotted and tightly squeeze down. You don't want to do super tight, but you want to make sure that it's stuck in place and that it doesn't go anywhere. There you go. Pull check. I mean, obviously we'll know for sure if it's proper connection, because we're going to hook this up to a battery and test it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that to the rest of these real quick, and I will get back to you guys once we're on to the next step. All right, so I went ahead and I crimped all these on, and what you want to do when you put them on is you want to do a little pull check. Don't pull it too hard. You don't want to obviously take it off, but it should be able to take on a little bit of tug. Not too much though. You want to do it to all of them. Perfect. They all pass. And now we're going to go ahead and hook these up to the side. Remember, this one single harness is all for 4. So I'm going to put each one of these into their individual connectors, and then I will do the exact same thing I just did, but to the other side. I'm going to just fast forward, and I'm going to go ahead, and the next part I will be showing you guys how I tuck and stow. Alright, so before we tuck and start stowing everything away, this part you need to step back and decide how you're going to want your boat set up, and more importantly, where your battery is going to be, because where your battery is determines the rest of the wiring. So I know for a fact that at the very front of my boat, right in that hole, is where I'm going to have the switch. So I know that my battery is going to be hooked up right here in the front. So that means that these right here go to the very front, and now I know these I can go ahead and start attaching to the lights. These right here don't have a whole lot of wiggle room, not a whole lot to work with away from the harness. So this has to be where your battery is going to go. So you go ahead and plan that accordingly. Think about it. Okay, and it really doesn't get easier than this. Again, red to red, so we know it's tight, interlocked, and we'll do that for the black one as well. And just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and double check the instructions to make sure that that's how it is, and that is correct. As you can see, red to red and black to black. So we just hook that one up. Now let's hook the one next to it over as well. Click, black to black. The red goes to the red, and the black goes to the black. Perfect. Last one. Red goes to the red, black goes to the black. There you go. So before we move on and start making it look all nice and neat, I want to go ahead and test it with the battery. And again, you're going to want the positive to a positive, and then negative to a negative. So first things first, make sure that the switch is off, and you're going to put the negative on first onto the black, the positive onto the red, just like that, and turn it on, and boom, we have power. So good sign. That means that our wiring and our harness hookup was correct. That's awesome. That's good news. I'm gonna real quickly turn it off, and I want to drain the battery. Yes, that's good news. So now we're gonna do the exact same thing on the opposites as well. The box came with a couple of extra clips. These right here go to they go inside of this harness. That's where this goes. These are just spare in case your fuse pops. You don't want that, but in case it does, it shorts out and it pops, so you have it for. So I clean out the area just to make it a little bit easier to follow with the wiring. And now I'm going to go ahead and start clipping and wiring that entire side. now that the wiring is all done, hooked up, ready to go, we got our harness and our ground and everything, and our little switch that we're hooking up to the front up here. Now, same thing, we're gonna put the battery inside the boat, hook it up with the wiring just to see if our wiring and crimping is well, so that we can move on to tucking and stowing. So again, you want negative to negative, positive to positive. I made sure the switch is off. Now we're gonna go ahead, turn it on, moment of truth. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Test pass. Moving on. That's awesome. So now we're gonna go ahead, use one of mankind's greatest inventions, zip ties, to make everything look nice and well. This is a zip tie. Now, everybody on the planet should know at this point what a zip tie is. If you don't know what a zip tie is, welcome to Earth. We humans, for the most part, at least me, come in peace. A zip tie, the way that it works is it has a bunch of these little ridges in it. And it works as like a clip, so where it goes in one direction, but not out the other, so it doesn't go back. So once you have it in place, it's in place. And the only way to really take it off is to break it. That's why they're very cheap. Now, what I've been doing is I've been zip tying all the hardware together that I know will be and stay together, like the switches to these will be on the whole time. So I just a little bit of space in between them, not a whole lot. I reused one of the bags that my lighting came in, and I harnessed these away because the wires look a little exposed and I didn't want that to be constantly out in the environment, so I zip tied it into a little plastic bag. It's not the most secure, it could be better, but that's good. And I went ahead and I wired or zip tied these harnesses together facing the opposite directions, because for some reason I feel like that could short out. I'm not the smartest in the electric world, but that just made me a little nervous. And then I went ahead and I zip tied these together, as well as the reds, because these are going to be on one positive, and the blacks because they're going to be on the negative. And now I'm going around and I am zip tying my wiring down, so one at the top, one kind of at the bottom, and then making sure all of it goes down so that we can go ahead and zip tie these together into bundles, and then all of it will eventually lead to the front. So that's how I'm doing it. All right, so you grab your wire, your zip tie, goes around, and what I want to do is right off the bat I just start it, just so I'm not fighting with it. So it's on there like this. I route the wire how I want. I've been putting them over the bolt and then it goes down. So now you just grab your zip tie and just slowly pull, slowly, and then you can tug it, not too hard because you don't want to damage the wire. At the same time, you also don't want to break the clip. Again, it's not the strongest material, it's just designed to hold things in place, sometimes temporarily, sometimes forever. So again, grab a zip tie, take your wire down. You want to preset your zip tie right off the bat. Make sure that everything that you are zip tying is in the same bundle all together. So you go down, and then just with one hand even. With your thumb, your index pointer finger, you just go and slowly. And then you can even do the method where you're holding the zip tie with one finger here and just pull on this little collar. Not too much. And you never want your zip tie point to be on the electric, whatever harness you're going on. You want it on the strongest, toughest material, because you don't want, like, that's where the most pressure is going to be. So you don't want that where anything of value is holding on. So there we go. I've tightened it. It's in a pretty good spot. So now we're going to go ahead and take the snips, and we're going to snip off the excess so it's not sticking out and looks bad. All right. So I did all the stowing I think that I want to do. This is the final result. So I just kind of zip tied the bundles together. It did nothing crazy, just made it look a little bit neater than it was. So the next step is actually going to be cleanup, because I need to move all this over so that I can go ahead and bring this right here back on. This is my board, my little deck build. It's just some 2x4s on the sides and on the perimeters, some 1x1s that I have drilled in here, and then a 2x4 down the middle. This keeps it in place, this keeps it upright, I'll show you what this looks like when I have it on top, and that goes onto the very front. Show you guys my platform before I went ahead and put it on. So this is what the product looks like. So this is a plywood sheet, and I got carpet, some outdoor patio carpet from Home Depot, and I just made it as tight as I could, and I put in a bunch of staples, and then I have some screws right here that are holding the wood on the bottom, and then obviously this supports the very front and the back of it. As you can see here, this goes onto, so the bench seat that's there, this goes on the very front of it, because that way this deck doesn't slide back, those blocks stop it, and there's no scenario where it slides forward. So I will show you right now what it looks like. So now this right here is what the deck looks like as a final. All the wires are kind of hidden. The board's not riding onto the wires, hopefully, which is good. We're gonna check with the battery again. But this right here is the perfect setup. I stand on the top and I have all the lights shining for me in every direction. I stand up here on top and I shoot them. Shoot the carp. Oh, this is one of the greatest hobbies I've ever had in my life. And initially you got to get a boat and all these other things, so the initial buying is kind of expensive. But once you have all that, you're just buying arrows for every arrow that you damage. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's test the power one more time, and then let's get that yellow film onto these lights, and then we're ready. The boat deck build is good to go. All right, so I went ahead and I actually hooked up the wires all the way they're going to be. Let's go ahead and just double check. On. All right. Fantastic. Just like that, we got ourselves a clean boat setup. Ready for this year's carp season. Let's go. All right, so I cleaned up the area that I was working in, made it a little bit tidier, put everything a little bit further away. Now for the film, here's what you're gonna need. Is like a 3D or 3mm or whatever you want, whatever kind of film you want, but get yellow in color, and a gift card or a card of some sort that you're never going to use. This has no money on it, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. And what you're going to want to do is, first of all, get a dimension. You want a template. I cut this one out so far. This is a pretty good dead on size measurement for it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to cut out the next 8. I recommend using scissors, and you could either put it on a cutting board and use a knife, a straight edge, and cut it that way if you want, but I have scissors. I'm gonna go ahead and use scissors. So I just cut a long strip. That was the width of the other ones, and now I'm just setting them one on top of the other, and I'm cutting length now. This will be kind of difficult to film, but I'll try my best to. You got this plastic film right here. Take it off. And you don't want anything on the surface. You don't want dirt, debris, nothing. Take your card. And what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to put it into the furthest point to the edge as you can. Okay. That should be pretty good. So again, it's not perfect, but it'll definitely do the trick. And there you go. And now you take the debit card and just smooth it out. Just like you're putting wrap onto a car. And all this excess right here, just take the razor, take the knife, and just cut it off. Easy does it. Now just do this 8 more times. All right, and just like that, here's our finished product. This is what it looks like. You have all the lights are now yellow. You can buy these on Amazon or anywhere online. They have some that already come like as a yellow color, but they're usually like 20% on average more in price. And if you have time for this hobby, you have time to put film on it. I mean, if you want to spend the money, you can, but I think that makes you a sucker. But that's just because I'm super cheap. But yeah, here it is. We're good to go. I have one of the rulers up front so I can hold the fish and measure right away, but there we go. Hopefully the next video I'll be taking this thing out and just sampling, trialing and error, seeing if the lights are good, seeing if it's pointing in the right kind of height or distance or whatever. Making sure that the trolling motor that I have attached still works, and make sure all the batteries work as well. So next trip could turn out to be great, or it could easily be a fail. But regardless, it needs to happen because we need to know if the equipment works or not. We need to know if everything is set the way I like it, so that the rest of the season is easy breezy. As always, I'm the dude from the Pacific Northwest. See you next time.